Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the first of our webinars. Phil is here with me this morning, so you should be able to hear him if he speaks up.
Morning, folks. Can everyone hear us?
Yeah, brilliant, thank you. What we're going to be doing this morning is just going through the basics of cTrader for manual trading and setting up charts. We plan to keep this section of it to about half an hour, and then we've got plenty of time for questions and things afterwards. If you have any questions regarding what we're covering at the time, please ask them. If the question you ask isn't related to what we're going through at the time, I'll make a note of it and we'll come back to it at the end. I do also have a list of questions that people have asked prior to the webinar, and we'll go through those as well. So what you should be able to see on my screen at the moment is cTrader as you would see it when you first start it. Phil's just pointed out to me, if anyone wants to ask a question, unmute themselves. On the bottom right hand side of the participant screen, there should be a raise hand button. If you click on that, I can then unmute you, and then it means that we're just not all talking over each other and we keep some sort of vague sense of control. So, as I say, what we have on the screen at the moment is the cTrader window as you would see it when you first start cTrader. When I first saw this, I thought, well, how on earth can you use these charts for trading because they look so tiny? So the first thing to do is to hide some of the things that you don't need all of the time. And that's done on the layout section here. So you can click on this and click on the show active symbol pane, and that gets rid of the bit on the right. And the show trade watch gets rid of the bit at the bottom. And then you've got your three lines here that will show and hide the left-hand side of the screen for you. So immediately you've got a lot more screen space for your actual charts and things. We start off by looking at how you can build a list of symbols, your favourites that you want to look at. So I'll click here to show this again, and I'm going to click on this little arrow to close that existing list. I've got a create new watch list option. So I'll click on that and I'll give it a name. And then we want to add some symbols to it. So I've got the little plus symbol here, and I can type in the first part of what I want. So if I want my GB pairs, I can type in GBP, and it lists everything that has GBP in it. So I can choose my GB dollar, GB Aussie, GB CAD, and GB yen. And then if I look in my demo list, I've got those listed there. If I want to rearrange them in this list, because I can be a bit OCD with this and like things alphabetical, you click on this little line on the left-hand side, and then you can drag it to a new position. So you can rearrange them and make them alphabetical. Or it could be that you just want the top three that you're interested in on the top of your list. If you double click on one of these, it will open a new chart for you. Okay, Phil's just reminded me, because I'm streaming and also recording, that my computer's going to be running a bit slower than normal. So I double clicked on it twice, so I've got 2 GB Aussies. I'm going to click on the little close chart button here to get rid of this one. And that leaves me with my one open chart. One thing worth mentioning at the moment, you see here, this has got a little blue A symbol, and this has a white square with a red diagonal line through it. I'm going to open up my active symbol panel, and you can see here, this also has a little blue square with an A in it. That means this symbol panel is linked to this chart here. So it could be, I'm actually looking at my GB Aussie chart, but if you notice here, this still says GB CAD because it's linked to my other chart. So it's really important if you're going to use this for placing manual trades, that you make sure that the symbol you've got displayed here is actually the one that you want to trade. So I will close that panel again for a minute. And I'll close this chart again. That brings us back to our fairly blank chart. So what the next thing we're most likely to need to do is to add some indicators onto our chart. So we have our indicator button here. We can just type in the name of what we're looking for in the search bar, and that can be a faster way of finding it than going through each of the options. So I'm going to add some Bollingers. You can see here it's found the standard Bollinger Bands, but also our colour Bollinger Bands indicator that I've written. So I'm going to add that one onto the chart. And I'm going to change the upper and lower line colours because they're white at the moment, so they won't show up on my screen. So I'm going to change both of those to black and say OK. And now I have my Bollinger Bands on the screen. If you find that the lines are too thin, you can do a right mouse click on one of them and that will bring up the options for you. So we can go through and make all of these just a little bit wider so it makes them stand out a little bit more. And we'll say OK. So we now have our Bollinger Bands. We'll also go through and we'll add some PSARs onto the screen. And that's parabolic SAR, so parabolic support and resistance. So I'll click on that. I'm going to change the colour to be a blue. I'm going to change the dots to be slightly bigger dots. And I'm going to change the width so that they will really stand out. And I'll say OK to that. So I now have my PSARs on the screen. If you don't like working with a light background, you can easily switch to a dark by clicking on your Switch Colour Theme button here. So that will take you to a dark background. Click on it again, takes you back to light. So it really is what you prefer to do. While we're up here, we've also got full screen mode. So if I click on that, you'll see what it does. It just gets rid of the border around. So again, you've got slightly more screen space to see your charts and your trading. And you've got sounds on or sounds off. So every time it goes into a trade, out of a trade, it will go ding at you. So you can either have your sounds on or off. And if you want any other language other than English, all of the supported languages are here. But it's also worth remembering where it is, just in case somebody has a laugh with you one day and changes your language to Turkish. Knowing where to come back and rechange it is quite helpful. So we've altered our screen layout, and there's one or two other things that we want to get rid of. Down here, these blue bars are the tick volume. So if I do a right mouse click and go to viewing options, I can get rid of this tick volume here. You can also show or hide your positions, any orders, the grid, your period separators, so that's your days, your weeks, your deal map, which is your previous trades. You can hide the chart scale as well if you want to. I will go and put back on my positions and orders, otherwise I'll end up confused. Targets are what cTrader has set up as a target for that currency for that day. And market sentiment is shown just below here, whether most people think it's going to be a buy or a sell, so you can get rid of that as well if you choose. When you've got this looking the way that you want it to, you're going to want to save this so that you can use it in the future. So again, you can do a right mouse click and then go to template and go to save template and give it a name. And then it appears on your list. You can see here one of them has a tick by it, and that is the default for new charts. So if I put a tick by our demo one, any new charts I now open will be in this layout. So you can have your favorite layout set up and any new chart will default to that. So if I come down here and I'll double click on GBN, you see my GBN chart now has the default layout that we've set up. These templates that we save can be copied between machines, because I know lots of people work on a main machine and a laptop. So if you come down to Windows Explorer and go to Documents, cTrader and Templates, you can see here I've got the demo1.tp. That's the one I've just set up. So you can copy these from this folder to the same folder on another machine, and then when you start cTrader, you'll have all of those templates there already. So it does make it much easier if you're trying to set up two machines. If we run through some of the other options down here and along the top, up here we've got MultiChart Mode. So if I click on that and show you what it does, it will display the two charts side by side. We have single chart mode, in which case each one is on a separate tab. And we've got free chart mode, and this means that I can adjust the size of each individual chart. So I'll go back to single chart mode so we can see more things on the screen. We then have our cursor, and this allows us to move our chart left, right, up and down. We've got a crosshair that if we move it over any particular point, on the right hand side it will tell you the actual price, and at the bottom you've got the date and the time of that particular candle. If you move it over any indicator that you've got on the system, it will tell you the value of that indicator and what it is. Then we have our Market Snapshot button. So if I move that over any particular candle, it will give me the open, high, low and close prices for those candles, the tick volume, and then it will also give me the values for every indicator that I've got on my screen. So as you can imagine, if you've got a dozen or so different indicators shown, this box can end up quite big, but it is quite useful sometimes if you want to know precise numbers for something. Moving along, we've got our line drawing tools, so we can have a vertical line, horizontal line, trend line, or array. I think the one I use more than anything is a horizontal line, so I can click on that, click on the point on the screen that I want it, and it draws my line for me. If I do a right mouse click, I can put in an exact price. So if I'd wanted this at 143.3, I can take that out and put in the 0.3. I can change whether I want a dashed line and also my line thickness and colour. And you can add a comment for your line so you know why you've put it there. I'm going to say, okay. We have our line on the system. To delete it the easiest way, right mouse click and delete, and our line has gone again. Moving along, we can draw price channels, we can draw pitchforks, and then importantly here we've got our Fibonacci retracement tool. This is quite nice because we can move from, we click and we drag where we want it to be, but here we can click and we can reposition it if we choose to. So it could be we want to rearrange it there or move it right up there, and you can quickly and easily see where your fib lines are. And I must admit, one thing I do like is this ability to move the start and end points, because it could be that you're following something up and you want to fib it on the run and it's still going up. And again, right mouse click, you can change all of the levels, you can change the colours, or you can delete it if you don't want it on your screen anymore. We've got the ability to draw different shapes. So we've got rectangles, ellipses, triangles, arrows, circles, all sorts. We can write text on our chart, and we can change default colours. Very interesting option is a chart shot, but if you click on that, it takes a screenshot of your chart and then we'll store that in a subdirectory on your machine for you. So it's under Documents, cTrader, Chart Shots. So you've got a copy of it exactly as it was on your screen. Really useful for sharing information. And then you have your bell icon to set up alerts. Moving down here, we can zoom in and out. So I can click on the minus to zoom out and the plus to zoom in. You can also do a similar thing by clicking and dragging on the scale on your screen. So if you're looking for previous general areas of support and resistance, it can be quite useful to do this. And you've got your scale along the bottom here. Then up the side here, again, you can click and drag on the scale to expand and contract that scale. Next on our list is the options to have a bar chart, candlesticks or line charts. If I move to bar chart, you can see I have bars. I could have just a fixed line or dots for the price. To be honest, I find it easier to work with candlesticks, so I tend to leave mine set to candlesticks. The next button down, as we've seen, is where you can search for indicators and add them. You've got your trend ones, oscillators, and then under custom will be all the ones that you've installed on the system. So this is where you'll find all of the ones you've downloaded and installed from our Dropbox link. We then have a button for bots. You can add a bot and start it and stop it on a chart. We'll look at this in more detail in future webinars. This is more for management bots than full trading bots. Next down, we have a little button that allows us to see the indicators that we've got on our chart. So we can come in here and we can delete them if we choose to on this section. And if you've got lines and other objects drawn, they would be listed here and you can delete them. And there is a button for remove all. Again, you've got a button here so you can save your template, or we can click on our template name and it brings back the template as we had it saved. So you can see here it's brought back our PSARs. Moving down, we have our time frame, and these buttons allow us to quickly and easily switch between time frames. We can go to M1 for minute, M15, 15 minutes. We've got 4 hourly, daily, weekly and monthly. You can change the options that you have here, and you do that by coming up to the time frame option here and click on it, and then you can see the ones that are ticked. These are the ones that will appear on the left hand side. So I can add 10 minutes, So you can see here now we've got our 10-minute option as well as our 15 and our 30. So if I take that off, you'll see that disappear again. So that's the basic functionality of the charts. What you want to do is to be able to place trades. I use the one-click trading, so I have these buttons set up here to sell or buy as soon as I click on them. To do that, we come down to our settings, and we've got our quick trade option, and I have it set to single click. You can set it to double click, so you'd have to double click on those buttons, or you can set it to disabled, so it won't do anything if you click on them. We have a close all positions without warning and cancel all orders without warning. There are buttons when you have all the trades running so you can click on one button that will close all open trades on the system or cancel all open orders. If you tick this, as soon as you click on that button, it won't ask you, are you sure? It will just close them all. So I've left those unticked so that I do get a warning if I click on the wrong place in the screen. Moving down, next important things, stop and limit. I always put stops onto trades. I personally would not trade without a stop in place. These are default 100 pip stop, 100 pip limit, just so there is something there, and then I will adjust them once I have the trade open to be whatever I want to be based on previous levels, based on technical indicators, whatever I want. So I'll close that and I'll move back to an hourly time frame. And we're on GBN, and we're going to take a 50-50 guess at which way it's going to go. This is based on no technical indicators at all, but we are going to click on buy. I've got my quantity here, so I'm just going to leave this at 0.01. So that now has me into a buy trade, and you can see my take profit is here and my trade entry is here. I'm currently about 3 pips up. I'm going to move my take profit by clicking and dragging on it, and I'm going to move that right down, and we'll just see if we hit 10 pips. And if I scroll down here, I can see my stop loss is way down here, still at 100 pips. So I'm going to come and move that right back to just below the previous low of this candle here. I also have some other buttons here. I have this shield, which if I click on it, it's an advanced take profit and an advanced stop loss. So I can say that if I take profit at 5 pips of 0.01, because I'm in at the minimum amount, what that would effectively do is close this trade when we're up 5 pips. Or I can move my stop loss to break even when I'm up 5 pips. We will cover this in more detail later on, so I'm going to leave that unticked for now and close that. This little button here will reverse direction. So if I clicked on this, this would go from a buy into a sell. So I'm now into a sell. This little button will double my position size. So instead of being 0.1, I've now got 0.02 lots open on it. And if I wanted to close it immediately, I've got my little cross here as well. So I'm going to close this trade because it's not going anywhere. And you can see I've got my messages appearing at the top of the screen here. If you've got the mobile app loaded on your phone, those messages will also be pushed to your phone, so you'll be able to see them all there. If I want to see what I'm doing a little more detail, I can go and show my trade watch. I'll just expand this part of the screen up a little bit. You can see I've got 3 open euro yen trades. So I'll close my GB yen chart and I've got euro yen here. So I've got 1 buy and 2 sell open, and these were left over from the bots running last week. So I've got a buy at 0.25 lots and I've got 2 sells at 0.08 and 0.07. So I can see the entry price, where my take profit is, the date and time they were created and last modified. I've got my label, my pips, so they're all losing at the moment. And then if I shrink some of these down, you've got your net gain and your gross gain or loss. You can, if I right mouse click here, you can change what you show. So I can hide the swap, the channel, the label, the comment. I could even hide the stop and the limit if I choose to, so that I can see on my screen here exactly what the information that I'm interested in. Yeah, so if we look at the history, and again, I'll increase the screen up a little bit. And rather than look at current month, we'll just look at today. We've got all my GB yen, or my 2 GB yen trades that I put on the system. So you can see the entry price, the closing price. So this was my initial buy. I then reversed it to a sell and increased the size to 0.02 lots. On cTrader, on currencies, you will be charged commission. I think it's $30 per million for most currency pairs. The Summit is only 20 per million, but you don't have much, if anything, on a spread. So you can see on the buy and sell prices here, they're identical, and you can see your gain or your loss in pips. I also have a statement option here. So if I wanted to actually create a statement from what I've done, I can do a right mouse click, go to create statement, and cTrader will create a statement for me in Excel format. I can then open this in Excel or in anything else that can read an Excel format. Phil's reminding me it stores it under your documents in cTrader, statements, IC markets. If you trade with Pepperstone, this would be statements and Pepperstone. If you trade with both, you'll end up with 2 separate subdirectories, 1 for each broker. Once that's into Excel, you can really analyze it and do whatever you want with it. So it's just reminded me I've come up to the end of my 30 minutes because I could talk forever if I had to. If I go through some of the questions that we have been asked, one of them is, what are the differences between the M1 bars and tick data on backtesting and optimizing? I'll just hide this trade watch and let me change currencies a second. If we look at this section here, the M1 bars literally just takes the price on the close of the bar. So in this run up here, okay, Phil's reminding me to change to minute bars. Okay. So if we look at this section here, on an M1 bar, it would give you a value here, and the next value would be here. Now I'll put a line on my system to say that dotted line is where your take profit level is. If you backtest on M1 bars, you can see here it would get nearly there, and on the next bar it wouldn't. So you wouldn't have taken profit on there, so it would reverse, and potentially if your stop was down here, it would take you out. If you're on cTrader, it looks at the value of every single little bit of this candle, including where it spikes up. So in this case, if you're looking on cTrader, you would hit your target, and if you're on the M1 bar, you wouldn't. So depending on the time frame that you're working on, this can have a huge impact. In general, the lower the time frame, so if you're backtesting an M1 time frame strategy, this will make a bigger difference than if you're trading an hourly strategy, because the chances are during that hour you'll get most of any spike on an hourly candle would also be shown up in the main body on a minute candle. But this is why sometimes if you're backtesting, you will get two different results depending if you do it on M1 bar or cTrader. Obviously, cTrader will be a lot slower to run, but it is far more accurate. The other question we've had, I'll just delete this line, is why are the cam levels different on cTrader compared to Think Markets? So I will just add the cam levels on here. So the cam levels are based on the open, close, high and low of any particular time frame. So on this, we've got it set to daily. Yeah, we're on an M1 chart, but the cam levels are set to daily. On the top here, it does tell you the time frame. So if you've set it to hourly cam levels, that would say hourly. As I say, it's a formula based on these numbers. The formula is one that has come from baby pips. So we have our baby pivot point calculator. And what I do, if I just make a note of these numbers, 1.6. So if I key these in, so the high was 1.64691. The low was 1.63042. The open was 1.63112, and the close 1.64137. And click on calculate. That gives me an R4 level 1.65044. I'm just going to skip to an hour time frame so you can actually see the levels. If I move to the R4, you can see the number there, 1.65044. So based on the formula and the numbers that we give, they match. The reason they don't match with cTrader, or the most frequent reason they don't match with cTrader, is that these high, low, open and close are different on cTrader as they are on cTrader with IC markets. And it could be that if you use cTrader with Pepperstone, again, these numbers will be different because there are variations between each broker. And also, we don't know exactly what formula cTrader use. In theory, it should be the same as the one that we have on baby pips, and they do publish all of the formulas here. So you could manually put this into a spreadsheet and work it all out. As I say, the indicator does the maths for you, but every time we've checked and rechecked, if we put the cTrader open, close, high and low numbers in here, they match the cTrader cam levels. When we put the cTrader high, low, open and close in, they match the cam levels we have on screen. This is something that we've found about using a different charting system from the one you're actually trading on, is how you tie up the differences in data. And this is why, personally, I use the same platform for trading that I do for working out my trades and indicators and where I should and shouldn't go in. It also means that if I'm in a trade, I can very easily click and drag my stop or limit to exactly the right place for one of the cam levels that's been calculated from the data on from the trader that I'm using. I think we've covered all of the questions that we've had. Does anyone want to speak, and does anyone want to add anything? Any questions? Phil's also reminding me, if you send requests in for anything that you would like covered on future video or future webinars, that would be brilliant. We will be going through the automate, the back testing, the visual mode, the optimization, and also the analyze section on future weeks. Okay, well, thank you everyone for coming along this morning. It's say the first one of these that we've done, so we will be making them a regular feature, because I think if we can get everybody happy using the tools that we use for trading, then we'll all get so much more out of it. I sometimes just assume people know things because I've grown up with software and IT, and I forget that not everybody has. So I think these will be useful going forward. So we will wrap it up there, and no doubt chat to you all on the group and on future webinars. So thank you for listening and watching. So thank you and goodbye.